Hey, it's Hockey John from Puckline Betting, and welcome to the Daily Scoring Charts podcast. This is the first time I've done this. I've only done audio-only podcasts to this point, but I thought, I've got to figure out a way to deal with my face for radio with a more visual world. And I think I found the happy medium here with this software that allows me to show you scoring charts and other visual data without having to look at my ugly mug. So without further stalling for time, welcome to the podcast. Those of you that have been following my daily charts for, as long as 3 or 4 years now, I really appreciate your support. I know a lot of you like this data. It helps you make better decisions with your hockey wagers, and that's the whole point here. I've been at this for about 30 years doing nothing but hockey, and I have a really good feel for it. I've never been a real solid math guy. I've never been a guy that's going to rely exclusively on, these really well-built machine learning models. I recognize their value. I understand that entirely. I've just developed a different way of wagering on hockey. And what it comes down to for me is betting trends and tendencies. We're talking about a league here now that players change teams often. If every player stayed with every team throughout their entire careers, we'd have a much tougher time betting trends and tendencies. But because teams change so often, we get a real snapshot every season, within a relatively small window. Some people might tell you that it takes, 50 or 60 or 82 games to really fully understand what the current form of a team looks like. But in this day and age, with so much free agency and so much roster change, throughout the season, at the trade deadline, certainly in the off season, I've found a way that works better for me that deals with a really small window. Because I input this data by hand, I have a really good feel for when teams are going up the charts, when they're moving down the charts, when they're staying kind of flat. That's the kind of data that I rely on to help me make wagers because I watch a lot of hockey games. And when I look at the daily line and when I look at the matchups that are on board today, I run through my head how the different players are playing, how they're likely to play against each other. I go back and look at their last 5 or 10 games against each other just to kind of see how they played out. So I can get a kind of a good feel to see if, some of that recency applies to what I'm seeing in the charts here. So that is the type of wagers and the type of wagering and mindset that these charts are built for. I've got some really good friends who invest a lot of time and energy in building exceptionally great machine learning models, and I really appreciate what they do. It's just not me, and it's just not my skill set or mindset. And so I built something that works for me, and I hope this works for you. Let's get right into this. When we're talking about trends and tendencies, we're looking for deviations from the middle of the road because the middle of the road is a coin toss, and we can do better than a coin toss because we're almost always asked to bet better than a coin toss. So one of the first things that we can see on this chart when we're talking about trends and tendencies is this NHL ranking of both of these teams, the Islanders and the Lightning tonight. On the road, the Islanders rank dead last at 32nd in terms of how many overs they've gone or they've played to in the first period. At home, we've got the same situation with Tampa Bay. They're dead last, 32nd in the league in terms of how many times they've played to the over in the first period. This is actionable data for us, and this is the type of data that we can now say, I wonder what the likelihood of this trend is. In 18 games, they've played 16 combined unders. Let's stick with that. That's better than 88% unders in the first period. I'm going to say let's start out by telling ourselves that trend is very likely to continue. Let's see if what the odds makers and the bookmakers want us to pay for this game is in line with that. This morning, this line was minus 130 to the first period under a goal and a half, and minus 135 at my other book. So a minus 130 in terms of a likelihood of something happening. When you're asked to lay minus 130, we're talking about 56.52%. And here we are with an 88+% likelihood of something happening. So we don't have to pay some absurd, really, it would be like over minus 700 for an 88% shot. I'm not laying $7 to win $1, and I'm never recommending that you lay $7 to win one either. We're not even being asked to lay anything close to that. We're being asked to pay the price for something that has a 56% chance of happening, but we've got an 88% chance of this happening based on the current form, the current trends, the current tendencies of both of these teams. And that's my recommended play in this game today on a card that's only got 2 games. Look, we don't need to really stretch and struggle to find plays. If you can't find something decent in a 2-game card, lay off today. Live to see another day. But in this instance, on this game, we have something that really stands out and creates an actionable situation for us. And that's the action. We're going to lay money at minus 130 that this game stays under the total of 1.5 in the first period.